So before I begin, I wanted to clarify something I overlooked last time. Second, because I was writing few more vocabs here, and then I realized I got carried away when we talked about manqus, right? Remember we talked about manqus, and we said that manqus is what? It is taqdiri, right? It is taqdiri in the rough state. It is taqdiri in the jar state. But in the nasb, it is what? It is your asli. You see the fatha zahira. But the problem is, I also put this one in here. That's not the case. Remember, the manqus has two. Manqus is one of the tricky one. Okay, manqus has two states. When it's definite ma'rifa, then we see the ya. Okay, we talked about this, right? We have the ya, and then when it's not nakira, then ya goes away. And what happens when the ya goes away? We write the tanween as a replacement, as a reminder. In Arabic, they call it yawad, meaning a replacement of the ya. Okay, because think about what happens. We have madi, so we have the kasra. We already had one kasra. So once we remove this, it should have been okay. Fine, you remove the alif. You don't like ya, that's great. Whatever, right? So it should be madi. But the only reason we put a tanween is because to remind you that this is your manqus. That means the ya is there. So you have to bring back ya whenever you need it, meaning we have to know the rules. So the rule is what we said, that in the marf state, in the rough state, it is taqdiri, because the state, right? We don't put ya. And so is in the jar. Remember, we talked about this. Kasra doesn't mean it is the jar kasra, it is the kasra of something else, right? It is kasra of spelling. Guys, you have to only thing you have to know about the manqus is that it is taqdiri except for the nasb. That is the main issue about the manqus. Otherwise, it would have been simple as the other ones, right? Because everything is taqdiri. In the manqus, just remember, it is not taqdiri in the nasb. Same goes for ma'rifa when it's definite, like al-qadiyah, and same goes for nakira, and you say qadiyan. Okay, let me put that. Okay, qadiyan. Okay, so again, manqus, it is taqdiri in the raf and the jar, but it is zahiran, it is clear asli in the nasb state, both in ma'rifa when you have alif lam and in the nakira when it is indefinite. Clear, guys? So this is something that I wanted to clarify. And I added a few more vocabs here. And as I told you, I'll be keep on adding the words as we get more of them. Now, last time we were talking about some divisions of the nouns, right? So there's one very nice book. I was really hunting online to see if I can find the PDF just to read some text from it. I didn't. So what I end up doing is actually end up taking some pictures so that I can show you. Okay, because the division that we started talking about right now, the only thing that the division of the nouns, right? We mentioned two of them, and we'll mention another one today. Only thing that I want you to get from them is what? The terms. You should be very familiar with these terms, right? So let me show you what I have now. As you can see, this is something that I took pictures myself, just so that we can read through them. I'm not going to read and talk too much because we've already talked about these things, but I just wanted to read and make sure, it's a review and make sure you understand everything, right? So the first taqsim, the first division that we talked about is what? The noun being divided into four categories, or four divisions, four types, right? And one of them, it is al-maqsur. Okay, So you have to, right now, when we use these terms, you have to visualize the noun. You have to visualize what's going on. At least some word should be, at least for each one of them, put one word in your mind. So when you hear the word maqsoor, at least one word should pop up in your mind. You understand? So second one is al-ismul manqus, right? And the third one is al-ismul mamdud. And the fourth one is, of course, as-sahih. We talked about them, so let me quickly just read them. So the first one is ismul maqsur. It says ismun mu'rab akhiruhu alif lazima. Okay, so remember, when they define something, each word is very important. So number one, they're talking about ism. Okay, second, it is talking about mu'rab. It cannot be mabni. And the end of it is alif lazima. Lazim means something that is connected. It is necessary, right? So that means bottom line is alif is part of the word. You cannot remove the alif. So that is the definition. And then he gave a few example, saha, huda, right? So, make sure you memorize one word with this term, okay? So as you can see, you have alif at the end. And I explained to you, it doesn't matter which alif. The stick alif or the ya alif doesn't matter. As long as it's noun, it has alif at the end, we call it al-ismul maqsur. Clear? Here he says, interesting, وَيَخْرُجُ بِقَوْلِنَا الْإِسْمُ الْمَقْسُورُ دَعَى. Okay, so he's clarifying that by saying ismul maqsur, what goes out is the word da'a. So da'a does not fall under ismul maqsur. But you might say, what do you mean? Oh, I have alif here. Why? لِأَنَّهُ فِعْل. Because it is verb. Get it? So even though, we have the alif at the end, but it is not al-ismul maqsur because it is not ism, it is verb. Wa ila. Why do you think ila is not part of it? I can clearly see an alif here. Why? Because li'annahu harf. It is harf. The definition says ism, right? You understand? So that's why, this is very important to understand the definition. And he says, wa ana. Now you might be a little bit confused. I want you to think about why ana is not al-ismul maqsur. Because ana is it a verb? No. Ana, is it a harf? No. Ana is ism. So who can tell me why ana is not part of al-ismul maqsur? Why is not? Think, guys. Yes, excellent. Because it is mabni. Just think about, he just using these two words, just ism and morab, everything is clarified. You understand? So just by saying the end is alif lazima is not good enough. So pay attention to your definitions. They make these things are very precise. And the other thing that he said is not that important. Maybe I'll talk about when we go to the dual or other things. Okay, so he gave a few examples like maha, huda, ulia, mustashfa. All of these things we talked about last time. Clear, guys? So that is your ismul maqsur. Now here it is, this part, actually the book that I got, this is part of the sarf. Remember what I said? Some of these topics are part of the sarf. We are not studying this topic to study the topic. We're talking about so that you are familiar with the term. If you don't know what ismul maqsur is and you're studying Ajrumiyyah, we have a problem. Okay, so you have to know the terms. But here's something very interesting. Inshallah, if I get a time, I have to mention when we talk about the duals and other things. Okay. Now, okay, so that's the only thing I wanted to mention from the first part, the first type. Then we have the second one is al-maqsur, al-manqus. The second one is al-ismul manqus. Here the definition is ismun mu'rab, same thing. So now all of a sudden, automatically you're thinking about it cannot be verb, it cannot be harf, it has to be a noun, and mu'rab, so it cannot be even, you understand? So it's the same deal. So here it's saying akhiruhu ya lazima. The end is ya, but that's not enough. It says maksurun ma qablaha. Maksurun ma qablaha. What is maksur? Maksur means, it has kasra before it. Maksur mean to having, this is technical term here. Maksur means broken in standard Arabic, but here in the technical term, it means having a kasra. Ma qablaha, what's before it? So ha here is referring to ya. So basically what we talk about, what we already mentioned, you have ya, and before ya, we have a kasra. Okay. For example, you have asami, asai. Make sense? Again, let us read it. It says يخرج بقولنا الاسم المقصور راضية. So the راضية goes outside of اسم المقصور. Why? لأنه فعل, because it is فعل. الذي. الذي is a noun. But why it's not? Because what? It is مبني. We talked about, guys. See, at this point, if you don't remember your mabni list, I give you some of the list. I told you it's not a complete, but at least the things that I give you, this one falls under that. Ismul mawsul is what? It's mabni. Ismul ishara is mabni, right? Dama'ir is mabni. We mentioned, we give you a few list. So because it is mabni, we don't call it ismun manqus. You understand? Then what did he say? Okay, so you understand this is not that important because here's Abi. Abi is when you say my father. So this ya is not actually even part of the word. This ya is same thing. You can look at Dhamir perspective. You can look at the second different word perspective. Okay, so clear. But here's the interesting thing. Here's the interesting thing. We have shy, right? We have shy. We have shy. Shy is tea. So that's definitely ism and is definitely not mabni. This is ism and it is not mabni. Now, who can tell me why this is not considered is al-ismul maqsur? Yes. Guys, you got to pay attention to all the techniques. Every single word is important because the before ya is not a kasra. But let me test your skill, guys. What is then before ya? Who can tell me what is the what do we have in terms of haraka before ya? Sukun, yes, not fatha. Yes, alif doesn't take anything other than sukun. Okay, so because this technique will be important. Remember when we were saying in a mabni ala, so we have to know mabni ala what. Now, so you guys are great. You guys are getting it. So basically, point things to know that obviously he's just making it like a daylight, making very clarifying it for us, and giving example. But everything is in the definition already. It's just that we're not paying attention to the definition. But as you can see, every word in the definition has a meaning. Okay, a lot of these things would become part of the sarf. Inshallah, I will talk to you about them later, maybe. Because as I said, these things we're not studying, honestly. The only thing I'm trying to make sure you know what manqus is. You know what maqsur is. Okay, if we study, there are so many things we can talk about, right? And as I said, usually these topics are part of the sarf, not necessarily part of the nahu, because in nahu perspective, how do you conjugate? A lot of those things doesn't come. And the third one is al-ismul mamdud. Al-ismul mamdud. What does it say? It says ismun mu'rab akhiruhu hamza qablaha alif zaida. Okay, so they look at from the different perspective. We want to say alif and hamza, that's probably easy to think, but they want to say no, you have a hamza, then you have alif before it. Subhanallah, it's the same thing, right? So that's the point. Here, by the way, I just want to clarify what he's saying. He's saying that you have hamza and alif zaida. It is additional. So that's how he is defining what? That's how he is defining the mamdud. But some book, what you will find, so just keep that in mind, that you'll find they don't care too much about zaida in the definition. Excuse me, they will say that any noun that has hamza, alif and hamza at the end, let's call it mamdud. Then we can divide them, saying something that is alif mamdud is zaida, in maqlub, something that is changed, or something that is asli. Okay, you understand? So that's how they will divide them. So for example, they will say asli, all they, or they will say zaida, okay, and they will say maqlub, maqlub. So what does it mean? Asli means they are part of the word, and zaida is that, what happened here? Zaida is what? It is added. These two, alif and hamza, they are not part of it, or at least one of them not part of it. It has been added. And maklub is something that has been changed. Usually they are changed from waw or ya. Okay, so that again, you understand. Let me see if he mentioned something here or not. Okay, so he mentioned them, but he mentioned for different reasons. So something that I'm not going to be talking about right now. So we have asli. So for example, you have ibtida. So this alif and hamza, these are part of the word because it's come from the word bada'a. You see, bada'a. So this hamza, as you can see, hamza, this is part of the word. So we have b, we have dal, and you have ba. You understand? So the hamza, we're just looking at the hamza. Hamza is part of the word. So this is asli. And then now he gave ahmar. We talked about ahmar. Then when we make it into feminine, we say hamra. And this hamza and alif, or alif and hamza, has been added. Okay, so this is something that not part. As you can see, it's very clear that this ra is here, this meme is here, this ha is here. Or where did this alif and hamza come from? Well, we don't know, that's added. So that means they're added for the ta'nith. This alif and hamza added for the feminine. Do you understand? Same thing is sahra. Okay, so this hamza and alif has been added. Then we have some words that is not part of it, and that is not also additional, something that has been changed, which is the sama. So original, the word is sin, mim, and wow, and wow. You understand? So then wow has been converted into hamza. Okay, you understand? So the main thing I want you to think about here from here right now is that by and large, most of the time when we talk about mamdud, we're only interested in something that is zaida, when alif and hamza has been added. Okay, so that is the main definition. But I've seen in the book that they really don't make that distinction in the definition. Then they, as I said, then they will divide it and they will say, one of them is asli, one of them is zaida, and one is maqlub. Make sense, guys? But for most of our interest, it would be, we're only interested in which are the words alif and hamza has been added. So these three terms, alhamdulillah, I think we talked about them. I think you understand them. But the best way, as I mentioned to you, pick one word and keep it in your mind and just somehow link them with these terms. So every time you hear this, that word pops up and you know rest of the story. Make sense, guys? Yes, so that's the only thing I wanted to show you from here. So this was the second division, and the third one was Sahih. And what did we say about Sahih? The Sahih is what? Sahih is everything else. Okay, so Sahih, we know what manqus is. What am I saying? We know what maqsur is. We know what manqus is. We know what mamdud is. Sahih is everything else. Meaning, at the end, we don't have any of these things. We don't have alif. We don't have ya with the kasra before it. We don't have hamza and alif. So everything else is sahih. Jayyid. The second category, second division second category is that we divided the noun into masculine and feminine, right? Mudhakkar and mu'annath. Okay, so we have mudhakkar and we have mu'annath. So we know what mudhakkar mu'annath is. We don't have to spend too much time here. Then we mentioned what are the signs of the mu'annath, because remember, mudhakkar is asl. We don't need any sign for the mudhakkar. And then, so we have to find out, okay, so if every word is mudhakkar, so how do we know the words that are mu'annath? So we have three alama, three ways we can identify. Again, most of the alama are not bulletproofs. Okay, you have to see which one works, and sometimes it will work, sometimes it will not work. So one of them, the first one, the most important one is tal marbuta. And remember, I said tal marbuta, or you can say tal mutaharrika. I'll write, I'll give those terms in that PDF, inshallah. So which is you have ta, like sayyara. Okay. Then we have alif maksura. See, right now we're start using the terms without defining anything. So that's what's going to happen. We have to be using these terms without defining. So you have to know what alif maksura is, like Salma, okay, and Huda, okay, Maha. All of these things are the sign, the alama of the muannath. And also mamduda is also alama of muannath, like uliya here. Makes sense? And I explained to you last time, this one is the most common, and probably, I don't know if I'm being too generous here or not, I would say 99% of the time it would be right. If you see tamarbuta, that's a feminine word. And we know there are exceptions. And this one goes somewhere like 70% or plus. I don't know. You understand? So what, and then we have to know the types of mu'annath. So we have a mu'annath, we have different types of mu'annath. The first one is, here again, I'm more interested in getting familiar with the terms. So what do we mean by mu'annath haqiqi? So the word, when you say haqiqi, it means ismun, look what it says, ismun dalla ala insanin aw hayawan. Okay, so it is something that indicates human being or the animals. So this is getting too much technical here. We don't have to go that much technical. It's saying, either it's born or it comes from the egg. Subhanallah. We don't. Bottom line is, just think about that. It is human being or animal, which indicates what? Which indicates female. So female from the human being or animals. That's the main thing. How it's born, that's, we're not too interested. Okay. So when we have a human being or animals, which is female, that is the haqiqi. Okay, so that's one thing you have to know. And in these terms, inshallah, you should be very familiar. Haqiqi means true. So you should be very easy to figure out. Then we have ghair haqiqi. Okay, another term is majazi. What is ghair haqiqi? Like shajara, we say, what is shajara? Sayyara, what is sayyara? We know this is feminine word, so what do you mean? It just means that we treat that word as a feminine. It is not haqiqi. This is not a real female. It is something that conceptual, right? We talked about those things, right? I wanted to mention a few things. For example, the one type is that when we have a tamarbuta. Another type is when we have a ain. Ain doesn't have tamarbuta. So how do we know this is feminine? It is one of the rules. In this class, we're not studying. I think I mentioned in the Quranic Arabic and the other classes, when you have a body parts in pair, we consider those words also as what? Also feminine. Also, another thing you might, I don't know if you guys picked it up, when you have a name of letters, it's treated as feminine, because if you go back there, remember when we said alif, we said lazi ma. We use tamarbuta. Why did we use tamarbuta? Because the name of the letter is alif. So when you say alif, we want to describe this word. This word is muannath. Ba is muannath. Ta is muannath. You understand? So when you describe harf, well, harf is mudhakkar. But when you say alif, that is muannath. You understand? The name of the letter is muannath. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, you'll be confused. Why are you describing with the feminine adjectives? Makes sense? And we say Sahara, and this one is muannath because we have alif and hamza. I don't have to say it like this. I can just say mamdud, right? So these two are most common, and you have to know these two words. So we have muannath haqiqi and we have muannath ghair haqiqi. Very simple things. Real muannath, female person or animal, and word that happens to be mu'annath for whatever reason is, right? We have some reasons, I mentioned some of them. But then we have ma'nawi. Ma'nawi, they mean that it is haqiqi, but it doesn't have any alama. Meaning it's actually female, human or animal, but it just doesn't have any alama. For example, Zainab. Okay, we have the Zainab. Zainab is name of a female person, but it doesn't have any alama. This is called manawi. And lafzi, it means it's only by the word. It is not actually real female person or the animal. Okay, you understand? So you guys have to think about this thing, because trust me, these same words will come back. So if you don't get used to it right now, these words will come back in different contexts in the grammar. So you have to know what ma'nawi means, what is lafzi means. Love, you know what love is, the word. So it is it's feminine only by the word. That's what it means. It's feminine only by the word, like Osama. But is Osama feminine? No, it's masculine, of course. But it is, why? Because we have tamarwata. Okay. So Zakaria, Muawiyah. Okay. So these are feminine. Why is Zakaria is feminine? Because it has alif maksura. Okay. You understand? And then we have, this is probably would be ideal if the world was perfect. We have, it is ma'nawi and lafzi. That means it is actual female, and also it has the female alama. Okay, so for example, Fatima and Zahra. See, you have the marbuta alama, and you also have the alama of the mu'annath. Make sense, guys? Some of these things you just have to go back, and then you have to reflect on them. So what I'll do, inshallah, what I'm thinking about, going back to my notes, either I will add these terms in here in these sections, but I'm trying to put this part only for the vocabs, and maybe I'll just make another list here, inshallah, and so that all the other terms here, so some of the grammatical terms that you might want to know. Okay, so what did this book did? It gave you one taqsim. It only talked about dividing the noun in terms of the numbers. Okay, mufrad, muthanna, and jam. So this is something that we'll be start talking about. So this would be our big topic, where we learn about them, and also we have to learn the i'rab of them. Okay, so that's something that we'll be spending a few weeks. He says, باعتبار الإفراد والتثنية والجمع. So in تقسيم الاسم, dividing the noun in terms of باعتبار means in terms of what? The singular, dual, and the plural. Okay, so it's divided how many times? Well, he gives the whole answer in the definition anyway, in 3 types. So when you divide the noun in terms of number, we divide them in three groups or 3 categories. First one is mufrad, which is what? Singular. Here it says huwa ma dalla ala wahidin aw wahidatin. Okay, simple definition, which indicates one, or he says wahid and wahida. Why did he say wahid and wahida? One is masculine, one is feminine, because he just wants to make sure that you understand doesn't matter if it's masculine or feminine. Okay, so anything that is singular, it is considered mufrad. Okay, for example, mu'min or mu'mina. Mu'min or mu'mina. So this is mudhakkar, this is mu'annath. You understand? So that's mufrad? Very simple thing, right? And muthanna is huwa ma dalla ala ithnain aw ithnatayn bi ziyadati alifin wa nunin wa ya'in wa nunin ala mufradihi. Okay, so this definition is very important, because we'll be talking about this one a little bit sometime, inshallah. So right now, only from here, because this book will go back in each one of them and talk a little bit more in details. So I don't want to spend too much time here. I just wanted to mention the division. So we have a noun being divided into mufrad, singular, musanna, dual, and jam, plural. Okay, so right now that's the only thing I want to get it from here. Okay, because as you see, inshallah, when we go, because it's only because the way Ajrumiyyah organized, guys. I told you this organized lot. Everybody has some difficulties dealing with the way he organized. Uh, so most of the books I see that they have to repeat some of the things. So you see the book again comes back and he start talking about dividing. He start talking about those 4 types that he mentioned. Number 1 is al-ismul mufrad, the singular. So now what we'll do, we'll learn about each one of them, and we will also learn how do we do i'rab of those. So how do we do i'rab of the singular noun? Okay, so we already know this definition is not that great. It's fine, but the other definition was better, where it is talking about one mudhakkar or muannas, wahidin or wahida. Here it's just basically saying laysa muthanna wa jumu'. That means it is not dual or it is not plural. So what is hukmuhu? So main thing is what we want to know, what is the hukum? You will find this word hukum all the times. Here, when hukum it comes, it means the ruling. What is the ruling of singular noun? Meaning we want to know how do we do i'rab of the singular noun. Remember, every type of noun that we are learning, we also have to know how do we do i'rab. We learn what is the manqus. We also know how to do the i'rab of the manqus. We learn about maqsur. We also know how to do i'rab of the maqsur. Mamdud, I left it for the different topic. I told you the mamdud, inshallah, will do i'rab when we talk about mamnu min as-sarf. But here, now we have to know how do we do i'rab of the singular noun, mufrad. It is your asl, exactly the way it is. Yurfa bid dhamma, so we use dhamma for the raf. Yunsabu bil fatha, and we do fatha for the nas. And yujarru bil kasra, we do kasra for the jar, your standard asli. You understand? So this is not much to talk about here. So we have rajulun, mu'minun. Okay, so for example, I think here, this example we have seen before, right? Here Allah said, waqala rajulun. Okay, so this is your raf. Why is it raf? Because this is the subject of the verb dur. Then we have another one, taqtuluna rajulan. Okay, so this is your object, and we have awhayna ila rajulin. This is majrur because of harful jar. Okay, this is something that we talked about, nothing new going on here. So only thing we now know, how do we do i'rab of the singular nouns? It is your asl. Clear? So let me just quickly mention, and inshallah you guys will understand. We have taqsim, at-taqsim al-thalith. Remember last time we did taqsim al-awwal and taqsim al-thani. We have second. How do we divide? We divide by mufrad, and we say muthanna, and we say jam, plural. You understand? Right? So mufrad is singular, one. Muthanna is dual, two. Okay, so this is the only thing that you have to know, that muthanna in English, because we don't have this concept, anything more than one, we call it plural, but Arabic, that's not the case. We have very separate category for the two, dual. And then we have a jam, plural, which is 3 or more. In the plural, we don't have any other division. Anything more than 3, it is plural. But what we do have is we have 2 types of, we have basically, it depends on how you look at it. You can think about, we have 3 types of plural. One is takthir. Okay. One is, which is broken. When you say broken plural, for example, mufrad is waladun. Okay. So the plural for the waladun is what? Anybody know? It is awlad. So what do we mean by broken? We simply mean that its original word has been changed. We have altered the word, and now we have a different form. Okay, so original word has been changed. That's what it is. Taksi, broken. Then we have mudhakkar salim. That means sound masculine plural. This one is a little bit similar with how we do plural most of our English words. Like, for example, we add s or es. Here, what we do is we add wow and noon, and we'll see sometimes we add ya and noon. So, for example, if the singular is Muslim, I'm trying to go through this one quickly because I'm pretty sure all of you know them, but you will see there are a lot more to talk about when you go a little bit in details. So we have a Muslim, and we add waw and noon. Okay, we say Muslimuna. So the point what they're trying to make is the reason why they're dividing is because this is broken, and as you can see, the word Muslim is intact. You will see it's exactly the same word we have here. So that's what they mean by salim. That means sound. Oh, the taksir, they are coming from the same word. So it's just a different form of the verb. Taksir is from the verb kasara. Maksur is from kasara. You understand? So this is a little bit soft difference, but it's same thing with the when we say taqdir and muqaddar. You understand? So it's same thing. It's just coming from the different verb, but gives you the same kind of meaning. All right. So we have this is called jamu. This is the mudhakkar salim, and we also have muannath salim. And here, the way we make a plural is by what? By adding what? Alif and ta. So for example, we have muslimatun. I'll just give another one. Mu'minatun. Okay. And how do we make it plural? We say mu'minatun. And I think you know this one. One thing you have to make sure that you understand. You have to drop the ta from the singular. Okay. So we don't need, because the reason is it's very interesting because the word was mu'min. What was the word? What was mu'min? Why did we add the ta marbuta? We added ta marbuta to make it what? Make it feminine. Exactly. If we added ta marbuta to make it feminine, and we are saying we add alif and ta to make it feminine plural, why do you want to show something that feminine and then make another feminine sign? Doesn't make any sense to them. So now we have two signs of the feminine, doesn't make any sense. So they will just remove that sign, because now if you add this one, see, I already have the word. When you have this alif and ta, everybody knows that this is feminine. Why do I need that extra ta? Doesn't make any sense. You understand? But that's not the case with the muthanna. Inshallah, we'll talk, because muthanna, we don't know. This alif and noon, we add both for masculine and we add it for feminine. So if we don't have the ta, we don't know, is it masculine or feminine? You understand? So that is the whole thing. So this much, I'm pretty sure you guys already know, but only thing we have to do is moving forward is we have to know the i'rab of all four of them. So basically what we'll do is we will come back here and start completing this chart. One thing we could do probably here already is, as we already read, that ismul mufrad is same thing as asli. So we can also add, for example, ismul mufrad. Ismul mufrad is also your asli. There's nothing changed. You understand? So this one is fine. We're done with the mufrad. Now we'll read a little bit about the taksir. I already explained what is the jamu taksir is. The hukum is the same thing as the asl. Okay. What happens? We do dhamma for the raf, we do fatha for the nasb, and we do kasra for the jar. You understand? So this is exactly the asl. There's no difference. So for the ismul mufrad and ismul taksir, the broken plural, very simple stuff, guys. You follow your standard rules. plural of rajul is rijal. So now for the nasb, for the marfu, it would be rijalun. For the nasb, it would be rijalan. And for the jar, it would be rijalin. Simple stuff. But the only thing I will mention what they do talk about, they go into these details about what type of change happening. Because sometimes they will say the change happens by adding more letters. For example, here you have rajulun, you have rijalun. So what happened? We added some letters. Sometimes happens by removing letters. So we have kitabun. What is the plural for kitab? Huh? Kutubun. Yes. So what did we do? We removed a letter from the original. Okay. So then they also talk about that sometimes you happens both adding and removing. So honestly, I don't think that's that much of interest or at least important. But one question it might be in your mind, because as you know, this is one of the frustration with us when we're learning the vocabs is the plural. You know, this broken plural is a problem, right? Because we have to know the plural. It's different plural has different things. Bait, you have buyut. You know, how do we know what's the plural? Is there any way we can find out? Bint, banat. Is there any patterns? Yad, aidin. You see, like it's like it doesn't, you know, what's going. How do we know? It's not like in English we just add s-e-e-s. That is honestly, there are patterns, but the problem is the patterns are too many. There are probably 20 plus 23 or 24 different types of patterns. It is really not wise at this point to really care about those patterns, because there's no way, if you can memorize those patterns, why cannot you memorize the plural? You know, that would be much easier. But what will happen, you know, like, you know, you can kind of predict what should be the plural based on your knowledge with the other ones, you know. But you know, it's not 100% unless you really pay attention to those things. But I don't think that's important for us right now. We just have to memorize. We have to memorize. There's no other way. If you have the advanced Sarf book, which is Shadat al-Arf, they give you all the patterns and give you big explanations. That is really advanced Sarf book. I don't recommend you going through this one right now. But if you have Medina book, the last book, book 3, I believe at the end he gives you all the different types of patterns if you're interested. Okay, makes sense? So with that, what I can do, I can also add that our taksir is also what? Also your asl. So let me give you one example here. For example, rijalun. Okay. Rijalan and rijalin. Okay. So that's it. I was initially thinking maybe I'm going to make new lines. There's no point. You know the asl. This way you know which word, which type of words follows the asl. Your standard ismun sahih, you know, which is like it could be mufrad or it can be takthir. Clear? Now I have to talk about the muthanna. So the definition of muthanna, it says huwa ma dalla ala ithnain aw ithnatain. These two words you have to know. Ithnan. Ithnan is 2. Okay. And ithnatani and ithnatani is also 2. What's the difference, guys? Huh? You know, in Arabic, everything has the masculine and feminine. Even the numbers. Wahidun is masculine. Wahidatun is feminine. In Arabic language, you cannot get away without the gender. Gender is all over the place. Gender is all over the place. So basically it's what indicates two by adding. So how do you make two? By adding alif and nun. You understand? Or ya and nun ala mufradihi. This is the key terms. You have a mufrad. We already know what a mufrad is. Okay, and how do you make muthanna? By adding alif and nun, wala dani, or ya and nun, wala daini. For example, I'll give you another example. Bint, and we add bintani, bintani, or bintaini. This is your definition of muthanna. So what you have to know, you have to have a mufrad, singular, and you make it dual by adding alif and nun or ya and nun. Okay, and you'll see why this definition is important. But by and large, alhamdulillah, we studied this. We know this is very simple things. We know, and it is what is the hukum? Hukum is, for example, here is giving example: rajulani, rajulaini, imratani, imrataini. Okay, kitabani, kitabaini. We know all of these things, no problem. So what is the hukum? So how do we do Arab? Arab is, it is yurfa'u bil alif wa yunsabu bi wa yunsabu wa yujarru bi ya. So that means in the rough state, it is in the form of alif. Wa waladani. Okay, waladani. So this is the form of rough. And for both the nasb and for the jar, it is, the form is wala daini. For example, I'll show you. Ja'a wala dani. Okay, so remember the example we always give. Ra'aytu wala daini. And we have another one is marartu bi wala daini. So this is your rough state because it's file, and this is your nasb state because it is maf'ul bihi, and this is your jar state because it is majrur because of harful jar. All right. Now the issue is why are they saying it is yurfa bi alif? Why don't they say yurfa bi alif and nun? Because it looks like one is in the rough state, we have alif and nun. It's not only alif. And when it is in the nasb and the jar, they're saying it is yunsabu wa yujarru bi bil ya. Why don't they say, ya and nun? Because here they clearly said that, by ziyadatin alif and nun and ziyadatin ya and nun. It's not like they don't know that the nun exists. The nun is part of the spelling. So what's going on? So this is something that you have to understand. This nun is something they call it nunul i'rab. One way to think about when you have this nun is when you have waladun. Remember what I talked about? This waladun is nun sakina. Remember, waladun is this nun sakina. We have this nun sakina. We talked about this one, right? And the grammarian explains that this nun is actually coming just to, as a replacement of this nun sakina. You understand? So instead of saying walada like that, they just add this nun just to make, just as a replacement of this nun sakina, like tanween. Because as you can see, your mufrad has tanween, and basically they add this nun just to make it equal with the tanween or equal with the nun sakina. That's the way that Muhammad Muhyiddin explained in his book. Okay. Only way, which you have to know, the only way this nun will be removed. This nun will, because you remember this tanween goes away when we have alif lam, right? And who can tell me when else this tanween goes away? when is the another time this tanween from the waladun will go away? One of them I gave you the easy one. You have to give me the hard one. If I add alif lam, the tanween goes away. Yes, in the idafa. These are the only two times you can remove the tanween. You understand? So the second place the tanween will go away when this is idafa. For example, you can say waladur rajul. Yeah, that is the mabni. You have to, this is different. That's not how they say it. You understand? When you say ya munada, they don't say the tanween is removing, they will say it is mabni on the dhamma. So once we say mabni, we don't care about the i'rab. You understand? So this is technical things. For example, brothers has a good point. For example, when you say ya wala du, you don't say ya wala dun. Both of them, even la nafi al jins, it also will be mabni. Okay, so you have to know the terms of how the grammarian wants to say. Okay, so when you say ya waladu, here it is waladu, it is because it's mabni. The grammarian doesn't like to say it like that. They want to say that that is mabni. Here, this is not mabni because waladu is not mabni, because you can say ila, then what happens? Do you say waladu? No, you say ila waladi ar-rajul. See, so it is not mabni, it is actually mu'rab. But what happens is that when it's in the idafa, what happens? It loses the tanween. So likewise, the only difference is this noon with the noon of tanween is that in muthanna, when you have alif lam, the noon remains. So you can say al wala dani. Okay. You see, the noon is not, sorry, what am I doing? Al wala dani. Only time this noon will be removed from the muthanna dual is when it is on the idafa. Okay. So you cannot say wala dani ar-rajul. You want to say idafa, two boys or the two sons of the man, whatever the context is. I don't know the context, right? So that's what we do. We just put here. You cannot do that. Here you have to drop this noon. So you have to say wala da ar-rajul. Make sense, guys? It will be same case for in the nasb or the jar state. For example, I was giving you this a random context. Ila, you're going to the two sons of the man. I don't know if it doesn't make any sense. You cannot say waladaini ar-rajul. Waladaini ar-rajuli. This noon has to be dropped. So you say ila waladai ar-rajuli. Make sense, guys? Yes? Complicated, guys, we didn't even start with the muthanna yet. These are the things I didn't even want to spend too much time because this is something we know. The muthanna, the topic, it's a little bit big, but inshallah, we will make it easy. So I'm gonna do a i'rab of muthanna. For example, let's say muthanna. So let me give you an example. So same example, doesn't matter. Wala dani. So in the rough state, it is wala dani, right? In the nasb state is what? Wala daini. In the jar state is what? Wala daini as well. Both nasb and the jar is wala daini. But what is the i'rab? Remember, how do we start? You should know how to start the i'rab at least, because we're in the rough state right now. How do we start? What is the first word we say? We say marfu. Because remember, we don't have the context, so we cannot say why it is marfu, but that's fine for now. We say marfu, right? And then what we say ala alamatu raf'ihi, because it's marfu. What is the sign of the raf? What you're going to say now? What is the sign that it is raf? Alif. Yes. That is the difference between the other ones. So here what we said, here what did we say? The original state is marfu, alamatul raf is what? Dhamma. But for the muthanna, the i'rab is that in the raf it is alif. Now, why it is alif? Because remember, the asal, everybody understands the asal. When you say anything other than asal, you need an explanation. We know the asal of the raf is dhamma. Why are you saying that alamatul raf is alif? That's when you will say li'annahu muthanna. That's it. See, everything we know, the words, everything we know, we just have to put them in this kind of phrase, and then we're done. So here we say it's marfu wa alamatu rafihi alif. Why? Li'anna means because. You should know this word. Li'anna is because it is li'annahu, because it is muthanna. Okay, now you have a complete. So here you will say the same thing. For example, you will say mansub. Okay, wa alamat. What happened to my writing? Alamatu nasbihi. Huh? What are you going to say? What is the alama of this word? Is ya. Alamatul nasb is al ya li annahu musanna. Okay. So inshallah, and the rest one, I'll do it. You understand? It's actually it's going to be the same thing. I'll just replace. Guys, if you don't learn this kind of thing, you're not studying the book properly. Honestly, it is not. Remember this. When we're studying this book, we want to get the grammar a complete sense. And this kind of statement, if you don't know, you will have a lot of problems picking up any book you want to. For example, you're stuck in a word in the Quran. I have a 3 Arab of the Quran, and I have to refer to them, all the time, because sometimes I see you think it's easy. Even so many times, I don't know why these things are happening. And then what do? I open this book, and that's the language they're going to be speaking, and that is the standard language. So in this class, do not underestimate this kind of phrases, okay? And it's not complicated, it's very simple. You just have to know how to say it, okay? Now, guys, if the word was easy, because muthanna is actually easy, but if it was only this much, we would have been done with the muthanna. But there's only 4 words we have to know about muthanna that makes this chapter a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. Okay, the book doesn't explain, but I think something that you need to know, because this word will come a lot, and you have to know. Okay, so this explanation is a little bit more intermediate. Okay, the other one that we read was beginner explanation. This is a little bit more intermediate, and only because it gets into 2 different words. Number one, same thing we learned, what we said, ma dalla ala ithnain or ithnatayn, something that indicates 2 or masculine or feminine, it doesn't matter. But it says wa aghna ala muta'atifain. That means it is sufficient to say without saying and. Basically what he's saying is this: muthanna is same thing as saying muslimun wa muslimun. When you say muthanna, it is same thing as saying waladun wa waladun, isn't it? When you say dual, that's what we mean. Waladun and waladun, bintun wa bintun. So what they're saying, that atif is like, atif, like waw is harful atif. It is saying that instead of repeating yourself like that, you use muthanna and you say waladani, and then this is exactly what it means. When you say waladani, it precisely means that you are saying waladun wa waladun. And you will see why this is important. Make sense? And then same thing goes for feminine as well, muslimatun and muslimatun. So this is what they mean. And already we talked about this one, but the problem is there are 4 words that does not follow this definition. I'll just mention this 4 words, and inshallah next time we will continue. Okay. So the problem with the muthanna itself is simple. We already knew this. We've been studying this muthanna, very simple. But the 4 words that comes, we have a problem, and that's why the topic comes mulhaqu al-mulhaqu bil muthanna. Mulhaqu bil muthanna, this word will come even for sound plural for masculine and feminine. It basically means that it is something connected to the muthanna, but it is not muthanna. You understand? It is connected because it falls under it, but it does not follow the definition. So what he's saying that huwa ma faqada shurut al muthanna. This something that is outside, doesn't lost, meaning it's not part, doesn't follow the shurut, the conditions of the muthanna. Walakinahu yu'rabu i'rabaha. But is i'rab is the muthanna. You understand? So what's happening? We have some words, and this concept, again, this word will come in plural as well, the sound plural, both masculine and feminine. So what we're saying is that we have a definition. There are words that does not follow the condition of the definition, but their i'rab is the same. So what are these words? In Arabic, there's only 4 words that screws up the whole thing of the muthanna. And the funny thing is, that's why I get so interested, is the main word that we say two does not fall under the muthanna. That is the mind-boggling thing. So ithnan, remember I told you, you have to know this word. Ithnan, it means two. It means two, like it is the dual. That's the whole Arabic number, two. But they're saying this word itself does not fall under the muthanna. Why doesn't it fall under muthanna? Because the definition is that you have to add alif and noon to the mufrad. You have to add alif and noon to the mufrad. You have walad, which is mufrad, and you add alif and noon. Ithnan, there's no mufrad for ithnan. There's no mufrad for, like, dual. So we don't have the word like you have alif, tha, and noon. Athan, like something like that, where you added alif and noon. You understand? So there's no such word. So that means this goes outside of the definitions. Okay, so for this one, just nothing much to say about, but only thing, they want to say that these 2 words is not part of the definition, but they are definitely do i'rab of the muthanna. Okay, so they are muthanna, but they're not part of the, the definition. So their i'rab is the same. Like, you say, ja ithnani, 2 came. Ra'aytu ithnaini, I saw 2. Marartu bi ithnaini, I passed by 2. These are complete sentences. Don't think it's not they're complete sentence. It's just that we don't know 2 of what, but that's not the point. But it still is a complete sentence. So that's how it works. So I think you pretty much understand what's going on with that. Then the second one is the kila or kilta, inshallah. For these 2, I will explain next time, because these 2 are a little bit more involved. Inshallah, I will explain, because these words also comes a lot in the Quran, and you will see them. You understand? Now, I mean, the concept-wise, let me just explain a few things before I wrap up. Concept-wise, these are simple steps right now. Our concept will get complicated when we start talking about maybe mansubat, and especially the mansubat, because Arabic mansubs are very difficult. Here right now, only thing we have to know, because we're studying the Ajrumiyyah and not advanced, like intermediate grammar, like we have to know a little bit more in details, right? It's not going to be something that we just talk about like the way we talked about in the Medina book, or in Quranic Arabic. And this topic, especially mulhaq, I didn't want to bring because Ajrumiyyah did not mention, but the concept is important, and because it will be helpful to understand the other ones, the Jamu Mudhakkar Salim and Muannath Salim. Okay,